Did I just take some amnesia dust? Because I think I forgot how this review works. Just kidding. This is a little reference to the Tooth Fairy, even though I'm not going to be reviewing that movie. But like I did with Cop Out before Hot Tub Time Machine, just in case you're wondering, that's what happened with the video of this one, so if that's not loaded up already. Anyway, it was a good film starring Dwayne Johnson. No, it was a typical kiddie film, you know, and it was certainly funny in its place, and it had a heart and it knew where it was going. So I'm not going to have time to get into the full explanation of my review, but anyway, let's move on from that. So I'm going to give that 3.5 stars out of 5. It was a good movie, just not great. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Sorry, I am here to talk about Death at a Funeral. Now, this is the 2010 version. I have to make that very clear. I have not seen the Brit comedy of 2007. I have not seen that version at all. But this is the 2010 version, which I just a few moments ago or a few days ago got back from seeing. And let's just start out by saying, let's get into the plot first. Basically, it's as simple plot as it can be. Dad dies, have a funeral at a house, everything goes chaotic. You know, need I say more to it? You have to understand what I mean when you see the film. Because let's be honest, the trailers and advertisements didn't explain the plot too well for this movie. And let's get into it. Now, I was really not looking forward to this film at all. To me, it just looked like a comedy that wasn't going to go anywhere, and just a really uninteresting, boring, and plain dumb stupid one. I was really expecting it to be absolutely god-awful. But after seeing this film, I can say that very thankfully, I was proven wrong. This film was hilarious, and I'm going to tell you why in this review. Let's get into it now. First thing, the casting. Now, this film has a pretty stellar cast. You have Rock McKenzie, I think his name is. I'm not sure, but he played the little guy. He was great. Chris Rock, excellent, terrific performance, comedic timing and humour, just about right with his character, and the emotional side of things as well. Now, forgive me, I don't know the direction of this. Let me think of the other actors. There was Zoe Saldana, James Marsden, Martin Lawrence. Oh, and they were all fantastic. I thought they had settled into their roles nicely, I might add. But for me, the ultimate show stealer was easily Danny Glover. He was hilarious. He was easily the funniest person in the whole movie. All I'm going to say is you do not want to go to the toilet with him. And you'll understand what I mean when you've seen the film. So let's get into the pros of Death at a Funeral. Now, what I loved about this film, first of all, well, I didn't love it. What I liked about this film, first of all, for the obvious one for a start, it is actually funny. The film itself delivers some great comedic and really memorable laugh-out-loud moments. I'm going to have to get into this. It's not a spoiler too much, but you'll see the key scene in the trailer. It's, of course, where... I forgot to mention another actor, Tracy Morgan, while we're on that subject. He was also in Cop Out. Not too keen on that movie, but anyway, he does a memorable performance here for this specific scene. There was a scene in it where Tracy Morgan's character has to help Danny Glover's character literally get into the toilet. And you actually, unfortunately, see, let's just say, good shit flies around. and you actually see that detail in full, which was disturbing to see, but at the same time, I could not help but laugh at it. You know, other things I liked about the film, though, the pacing itself, for the most part, is pretty stellar here. It doesn't drag too much, it isn't forced, it isn't rushed. So the pacing itself for me wasn't too much of an issue for the most part. You know, but you know, that's that mainly. The film itself was a bit slightly too long, but the running time in general didn't bother me. I found that it actually did, for the most part, keep me entertained from beginning to end. Despite this being a remake, I would have to have seen the original to compare the two, so I cannot really say if this film was better than the original. But usually sometimes when they do American adaptations, for me, on British material, it tends to suck. Like Little Britain, for example. I love all the original work they did, plus live and abroad, brilliant, but I hated the USA stuff, but that's irrelevant and off topic. Pros, now, the direction of this movie is pretty solid here. You have all these characters coming in from different environments, all coming together, and usually can be done very corny or very forced or not well put together. In Death at a Funeral, it really expands on all the situations. And what I love about the direction is also each character is given a significant amount of screen time that actually allows them to thrive as characters, basically. Unfortunately, though, we do have to get into the... Oh, actually, no. One more thing I absolutely loved about this. The film that made me say, right, I like this movie. If you stay for the last few seconds of the film, before the credits, of course, but if you stay for that one scene with Danny Glover, let's just say Danny Glover replaces James Marsden in a certain position. And it's incredibly hilarious. It's not a spoiler ending too much, but, you know, let's just keep an eye out for that ending. It is so funny. Now let's get into the bad things. Really, the only bad thing I can really think of about Death at a Funeral was that I mentioned. The pacing for the most part is pretty good, but I did actually fall asleep during this film. I fell asleep during the middle section of the film. To me, a film based on a funeral can go so far before it does tragically, not funny, does somewhat tragically get boring. After a while, it does actually lose its charm and its magic. Fortunately, though, it does actually stumble itself back on its feet and it gets back on track with things. But that's just nitpicking. But it did throw me off from loving this movie. I didn't love it, but hey, you know. Final wrap up here. Oh yeah, well, one more thing I didn't like about it. Some of the scenes were a little too awkward for my taste. Like I said, the toilet scene, while funny at the same time, it was still disturbing. And I think I could have done with a bit less imagery. As the same with a few other scenes, you know, and some of the dialogue was a little bit cheesy at times, but you know, but the script generally was well written. Sum things up. Death at a Funeral. It's a very good film. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely it's something I think you should give a shot at the theatre, at the cinema. If you've seen the original, then my advice to you, probably skip it, wait for it on DVD, because you might think it's a waste of money's worth. And hey ho, right. So overall, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was a great film, actually, and it's very surprisingly, considering I did not think I was going to like this film at all. But I really found that it did actually entertain me and engaged me on a majority of levels. So that was my review of Death at a Funeral, and I cannot believe I just reviewed that. Strange film, I must say. So, all I'm going to say is if you plan a relative's funeral like that, don't get any of these characters into it. But I shall sign out and see you next time, guys. Such a funny film, I'll admit it.